You are like the person who rear-ends somebody and then complains that they stopped.
Mark Schumacher, a comedian who does a lot of his set about being a teacher, was opening for me. During his set, there were two women who were texting a ton and talking to each other. By the time I turned the camera on, he had already politely asked them to stop 3 separate times.
She said sorry again, that went right back. Is everything okay on the home front? Let's be honest. I'm getting a little worried. It's too familiar to me, that's all. I really want to take it away.
During my set, I told a story about someone being stupid in a place called Laverne, and then I segued into another bit about how I don't like most people. The two women in the front were still talking to each other and not paying attention to the show at all. Just talking in between bits and over bits and just whenever they got the chance. Everyone around them was getting annoyed, and so was I, but they weren't actively trying to interrupt. So I started out a little nicer than I usually would be, and just asked them to be quiet.
Could I ask you guys to not talk as much, since you're a foot or 2 from me? You done texting? Do you mind picking it back up so you stop talking? Okay. I can deal with the blue light, but the whole time I can't. Just occupy yourself with something. Some of you think I'm being mean. Some of you guys are like, yeah, I know. Okay. You said you're from Laverne? You said close? 1 city away. Okay. You realize we're only like 40 minutes from there. A lot of people are from close to it. And yet they all have managed to handle the joke quietly. Is anyone from Laverne itself? Yeah? And yet you didn't need to tell me. I know you're just trying to participate, but it's not a participatory sport. So, okay.
It kinda worked, because they were quiet the rest of the show. They were scowling at me, they were super fidgety, and they were still texting a lot, but at least they were quiet. So my last joke, they just couldn't take it anymore and had to speak up. The joke was about how unsafe it is that people can take one road test and keep their driver's license for decades.
Now in California, you have to take the road test again? You have to take the road test again in California? The written test? No, you don't, but thanks for correcting me. You guys are 0 for 2. No, you renew by mail. Only for so many years? No, that's not true at all. Here's the weird part about this joke. I knew it ahead of time. So I keep telling myself that. Okay, what about all the people who are agreeing that also live in California? Have any of you had to do that? Here's what you're thinking of. What you're thinking of is when you transfer an out-of-state license. You don't care? Then why did you interrupt me? It seemed like you really cared. Like there was a moment where I was talking about it and you're like, I care enough to interrupt you, and now that I find out I'm wrong, now I don't care. Y'all were doing so well. You were sitting quiet the whole show and I was really proud of you, and then this is my last joke and you were like, let's try again. I know you mean well, but just don't. You don't mean well? Then you can leave. Right after you file a major complaint? That's the fun part. I'm taping the show. File all the complaint you want. Who are you going to file a complaint with? Is there staff in the room who saw this happen? There's no need to be rude to the other 200 people who are trying to watch my show. I care way more about all of them. Okay? Keep going. No, you can leave before I finish. I don't want you to hear the end of this joke. This joke is for them. Is it okay if they go early? Did they already pay their tab? this the right way. I want to make sure they already paid their tab and it's cool because they need to hurry up and file a complaint. You let the Better Business Bureau know that when you interrupted my show and I responded, that was very rude of me. You are like the person who rear-ends somebody and then complains that they stopped. Because I had moved on. And then you incorrected me. Do you see all these other people laughing, and you're like, you guys are doing it wrong. Alright, if you want to stay for the end of the joke, you're welcome to. Because that way you know exactly what to complain about. So what was I talking about? Oh right, I don't like people. And so... my point is, you get your driver's license when you're 16, then you never need to take a test again. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
Here's the amazing part. The only reason those two would assume that I was wrong about the driver's test is if it happened to them, right? So I did a little more research, and there is a reason you might have to take your driver's test again in California, if a neighbor reports you as an unsafe driver. So I guess someone filed a complaint.